All right. So back with another video, we're going to be setting up contextual animations. So in the last one, I had you create this parameter, but we never actually assigned it. So you can go ahead and actually bind that over here to the scene asset. And then whenever we set this up, also you should be able to access this from the blueprint for the bench. So if you open up the blueprint and select the okay, from the smart object. So if you go to the smart object, we never assigned it the state tree. Yeah, we would have figured that out soon enough. So you might want to go to the smart object definition and where we added that state entry, just assign that state tree to that state entry. And then if you needed to, you could assign contextual animations from right here. So since we're already in here, we'll just use that create new asset contextual anim scene. And we'll add that under the smart object bench folder. Actually, let's create a subfolder and we'll call it context anim. And we'll call that CS bench as in contextual scene where you can actually, yeah, I'm just going to say CS bench. So now we have that assigned here. And actually, I'm going to assign it manually inside of here too. I don't like to set it from here. So if you, okay, that's weird. I didn't actually expect that to happen. Okay, interesting. So anyway, normally whenever you press that reset and it's an instance or it's referring to something, it'll set it back to its default, which in this case is CS bench, but apparently not. So you can go ahead and double click that to open it. And so you'll see over here, we have role assets, primary role, override preview data. We have a radius, a scene instance class. There's a lot going on in here. You can do pre-compute alignment tracks. I'm not really sure exactly what that entails. I'm not sure what it means by alignment tracks, is what I mean. You can enable that if you want. That's what I did on mine. I don't see a reason not to, since this is going to be static and nothing is going to be changing during runtime. So I don't see why it would be a problem. So it might actually save performance, but we need to create a role asset here, and you can't do it by from this drop down. So we'll have to manually do this. So just browse to that, and in the same folder, we're going to go to let's see. I believe this is a data asset. So let's see, data asset. It might not be. Yeah, it is. Okay. So don't create. I mean, it might be safe to create a contextual anim scene asset from here like this, but don't try. You can actually do that with the smart object definition, and if you do that, it won't actually have a preview scene. It'll only have the information over here. For the contextual anim scenes, it'll work fine, but anyway, we're doing this for the contextual anim roles asset. And we'll call that CR as in contextual roles and bench. And this just allows us to define the roles that are needed for this, and we're going to need 3. So let's see, what did I name that over here? Entry 1. So we'll just name this entry 1. This will be a character. And then we'll have entry 2. This will be a character. And then we will have bench, and this will not be a character. And you could probably give this a generic name if you wanted this to be more reusable across different contextual scenes. And then we'll just use CR bench. The primary role is going to be the bench. That's going to be the primary role. Now you won't see anything until we've overridden the preview data. So we're going to add 3 entries into here, and we're going to override the roll 1 preview with the skeletal mesh, and that's going to be the SKM many. I'm just going to use the simple one. And right here, you can actually choose this ABP many anim instance to preview how it'll look alongside that. That should help you identify any problems. Same thing with this one. And we'll actually probably go ahead and change the third person character as well. So if you want to come back over here to the third person character blueprint and open this up, we're going to change this mesh over to the SKM many simple. And we're going to change this anim class over to ABP many, which is set to Quinn right now, the Quinn animation blueprint, which is an instance of ABP many with its own female animations. So don't make the mistake of not changing this to the Manny if you change this to SKM Manny Simple, because if you do, then he'll be using the female versions of those animations, the locomotions, stuff like that. Anyway, so under this one, this is going to be the bench. It's going to be we'll just use actor. Why not? Well, I don't know. We'll see. So BP bench. Sorry, I don't know what's up with my ability to talk today. I think for some reason I'm just really dehydrated, and it's making it a little bit difficult for me to talk. So BP bench, and you'll still not see anything until we actually reset all. No, even when you reset it, we won't see anything until we've added a new anim set. So sections or where your anim sets will show up at. And so we'll go ahead and add a new anim set, and we'll call it intro. We're going to have 3 of them. The first one will be intro. And this is the section name that it's talking about over in the state tree under the play contextual animation. Now our animation is going to be the AM bench enter C. And this, you can set this to requires flying mode. I don't think it'll automatically set it to flying mode. I'm not sure. It might. And both of these actually are going to use the same one. For the bench, we don't need anything right here. And we'll say OK. And now everything will show up in the scene. So right down here under active section, now we have this name, intro. That's our section name. We have role to IK target definition maps and warp point definitions. And these allow you to add IK targets, and these allow you to add warp point targets. So in 5.4, the warp stuff seems to be broken. I don't know why. And I don't know if it's warp motion in general or just with contextual animations, because the way we're going to do this, the contextual animation, whenever we play this contextual animation, it's automatically going to handle warp motion for us. And for some reason in 5.4, it's just not doing that. I have reported it as a bug, so hopefully it gets fixed. Now this radius, I think this is for auto activation. I think you can set these up so that whenever a character steps within the bounds of this, like an NPC, for example, he'll automatically start using it. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I believe that's what the purpose of this radius is for. I could be wrong. I mean, I might be. Scene instance class, I don't know what that's for, but I guess you can specify a custom contextual anim scene instance class. I'm not sure what that would be good for, but I'm sure there's plenty of useful cases where you would want to do that. This probably allows you more control over the contextual scene. I'll have to explore that later. Under here, you have your active anim set. This is the random weight uh, used by the selection mechanism to break the tie when multiple sets can be selected. So if we have multiple sets, anim sets inside of this section, so yeah, okay, I'm gonna have to take that back. So an anim set is not a section. You can have more than one anim sets within a given anim section. And in fact, inside of the Matrix City demo, they do have an example of this. So the get in car anim set, there's only one section. It's called default. The section is a default section, but he has two anim sets in here, and one of them is grayed out. And so one of them is for the driver, and one of them is for the passenger. And so one of them is active, and the other one is deactive. And so I think that's what this has to do with. So if you select one of these, and this looks like an animation sequence inside of sequencer, but it doesn't work like it. All of these options are disabled. You do have so much control over this, but not the same way that you would in a regular animation sequence. But if you select one of these entries, you'll now see a selected anim track, and you can modify this. You can also create section selection criteria, and they use this actually in the the vehicle contextual animation set, where they set a criterion trigger area, and this creates a box. And I'm not really sure what the purpose of that is for yet. I'll have to explore it. But you can set where these points are on this. You can also create a distance-based one um, right here, or you can create a criterion cone. And I'll look into that more, but for this, we're not going to be using that. Also, you can add additional offsets right here to properly position this character, and that's what we'll be doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to scrub all the way through to the end of this until he's sitting down. And we're going to rotate this 180 degrees, and you won't see anything until you reset the scene. When you reset the scene, now he's over here. And so select this first one again, and we're only going to position this one, and then we'll position this one. So the red is going to be this direction, and the green is going to be this direction. You can see by this gizmo right here. So we want to move them along the yellow. So we might do something like 200, and that moves them a little bit closer, but let's see. Now the offset inside of here is going to be a little bit different than how we had it on the smart object definition for this right here. And I don't really know why we have to set these differently, but we just do. And in fact, we may even have to come back and adjust the entrance locations a little bit. And so it's a little bit of a nuance that we have to come in here and modify these in such a way, but I'm sure over time it'll improve. And so we'll just do 250. And I don't know why it seems like he didn't move here. Let's try negative 200. I'm pretty sure that's going to move him further away than what he was. Yeah. Okay. Let's try 300. So let's go ahead and open up this right here, and we might be able to get some ideal if we scrub to the end and we select the pelvis and we go to, okay, it's not going to show that location world. We have 198 here. And I mean, I didn't have this problem before. Before I was able to do this and just basically copy it over, but for whatever reason, it seems to be a little weird here. I must be missing something. I don't think I should actually have to be rotating these 180 degrees. So let's go ahead and try adjusting it on this right here. Make these positive 90 and see what that does. No, I don't know what's going on here. This is weird. Okay, this might be slightly bugged out. Let me try doing this. So I'm just going to go ahead and set these back to negative 90 because normally negative 90 works fine. And then we're going to open up the contextual animation scene again. And I'm going to, oh, I know what it is. Sorry, guys. So I completely missed that. So at one point I came in here and disabled this. Yeah, make sure you're real careful with that whenever you're trying to get that root location offset uh, for the entry points, because if you're not careful, then you'll forget, and that's the reason why they were outside of the capsule. So my bad. Um, and now you'll see it's basically in the correct spot, but we're still going to have to give it a 180-degree offset on both of them. And so you'll see one of them is offset more than the other, but we'll copy this over to the other one. And so now you'll see they're both kind of right there. And now what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to come over here to, yeah, I think that's fine. I don't know why they're so high up in the air. I feel like it shouldn't be that high up in the air. Okay, now collision is supposed to be disabled between actors. Also, control mouse wheel to zoom out. We weren't actually scrubbing all the way through this. So I was hoping if I set this as the actual actor, we would have less problems with this collision stuff, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. So, well, I guess what we're going to end up having to do, at least for now, is we're going to have to come in here to the static mesh, and we're going to have to set this to no collision for now. And we can deal with that stuff later. And now you'll see it's working fine. Because if it's doing it in here, it's going to be doing it in the game too, plain and simple. So I think they're still working on this because in 5.4 we have more collision options inside of here. So I do believe that's something they're working on. So we're going to have to give it an offset right here, and we want this offset to match that of these slots. So we're going to copy this offset, at least in this one direction. And then this one will probably be positive 65, and we'll reset. And now it should be in the right place, and everything should match up. So this was a bit of a long video, but that's the general ideal of it. Now we'll go ahead and create a new anim set, and we'll call this one loop. And we'll set this to bench loop. And so now under the sections, we have intro and loop. Now we're in the intro section, so we need to move over to the loop. And you'll see that they're all offset, and that's because that got reset. So let's see. Let's try this. I don't know if this will work. I'm going to add 180 to it, which is what that was set to on the other one, which puts it at 90. Okay, that's what I was setting it to before. And we'll save this, come back over here, and then if we reset this now, it'll probably offset them. I don't know. Let's see. They still seem to be good. That might not have helped at all. It didn't. Okay. I was hoping that would help. Okay, so maybe don't do that. That might actually cause problems. But anyway, so we're going to have to manually, that might be something they're working on too. So for now, we're just going to have to copy these over. Actually, let's go to the intro, select it, collapse the mesh to scene, and just shift right click on it. It'll copy the entire thing. And now over here, we should be able to just shift left click. Yeah, and that seems to work. And we'll do that for the other one too. Oops, I don't know what I just did. Be careful, because you see what happened to me right now. Okay, there we go. Now let's reset that. And I don't know what happened. Okay, for some reason that one didn't get copied over. Okay, so obviously those offsets are wrong. So I don't think they need offsets, just a rotation. Not on the Y anyway. So on the Y for the loops, because the loop animations have no Y offset, we don't need to offset it on the Y. And so we can leave the X offset, but remove the Y offsets. We still need the rotational offsets. And so now they should be in the same place. And so let's scrub through to the end of this and then switch over to entry. And it looks to be about the same place. Yeah, I think that's the exact same place. Okay. So we need to set up the last one. I'm going to go ahead and preemptively copy this and create a new one. And this is going to be the outro. And exit. exit. Actually, I set flying mode on those other ones, but we actually didn't need that because we're not motion warping. So when you're motion warping, sometimes it's good to have it set to that, but you can disable this right here by selecting these tracks and unchecking flying mode required. On the outro, it shouldn't be set. No. Oops. Let's go ahead and we should be able to copy and paste these directly. And also you can see the roll right here in case you're confused as to which one was which. I probably should have said that before. I thought I just, okay, there we go. All right, so that's matched up perfectly with the looping one, and that one's matched up with the intro. And on our intro, we should already have our motion warping set up. I believe we set that up in the other one, and so I'll show you guys how to use that. So this won't work unless you actually have a motion warping track on this animation montage. So go over to the contextual animation, and right here under active section, you'll see warp point definitions. So the warp target name, it's the same target name we gave this over here on this animation montage. And so I'm just going to copy and paste that over here. I'm going to leave the mode as primary actor because we want these warp points to be set in relation to this actor. And so you can set update warp points. And so you might actually get something like this, and that has to do with some rotational offsets. So uh, this was this is a problem caused from what I did here. So I'm going to have to undo this. I still don't quite fully understand this, to be honest with you. So I'm just going to set that back to the default. Warp point update. And so now it's almost aligned, but we need to rotate it 90 degrees clockwise. So for this, let's try setting it to 0. Okay, so now these are lined up, and this is where they're supposed to be. These little green skeletons, they're supposed to be where the characters are. And so we can update the warp point targets, and now they're in the right place. So a little confusing, I know, but you'll get used to it, and I'm sure they'll improve it over time. It's kind of a weird workflow using these warp point definition things, but it's cool that it's here because it automatically sets like warp points for our character to be warped towards. And so this is basically uh, the end frame. So right here, where this motion warping stops, that's the location there settings. So if we, let's see. So this is 1 second in because it's 30 frames per second. And so if we go to 1 second in, you'll see we're right there where the warp point is. So that's how that works, just in case you were curious. So if you ever come in here and you ever adjust this, then you're going to need to come back into this and you're going to need to update these warp points. And I like to reset the scene every single time just to make sure. So that's the setup for that. And so now over here in the ST bench, we can start filling out this stuff for the intro. And that's the section name, the secondary role. So the secondary role is going to be entry one. That's going to be this entry right here, because that's the seat right here is for role entry one. And yeah, so you'll see the role. And so we want to give this a role of entry one. And you can make this a parameter over here. It's up to you. Uh, I'll go ahead and make it though. It's going to be a name, and I'm going to call this something that's going to make sense to you. And now you can bind it. The tertiary actor role, that allows you to add a second actor into the scene. You can bind it to something right here, and then you can set its role as well, which would probably be entry two. I have not tested this out, so I don't know exactly how that works. So yeah. Also, you have your execution methods: start interaction, join, transition all, and transition single. I'll have to experiment with that because it's undocumented and I'm not exactly sure how all of this works right here. So I only know the basic setup. So we already know our section name is intro. And we want it to loop one time. We only want it to play once. We don't want it to loop forever. This doesn't matter unless you're looping multiple times. If so, then you can add a delay between these. It's up to you. Warp targets. This allows you to set the warp targets externally. This would be the role, which would be the secondary role. It would be the same as the secondary role. Uh, this would be the warp target, which would be bench. And then this would be the warp location and rotation. But we don't need to fill this out because actually all that information is already inside of this contextual animation. And that's what those little white diamonds are. Those are the warp target locations and rotations. So it automatically set those for us. So that's basically it as far as the rundown for this goes. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Well, I guess we can go ahead and we'll go ahead and duplicate this, and we'll call this the loop, and duplicate it again and call this the outro. And then we'll set these transitions up to on succeed, next state, on failed. We'll just say tree failed. On succeed, next. And then this one right here. Yeah, we'll just do we'll just finish off the tree. Something like that. So we need to change this to loop. You can actually create a random value here, and I guess we'll go ahead and do that. I was wanting to kind of take a break. Let's go ahead and finish this though. Let's see. Let's come over here. This will be under tasks, and I'll create a new folder called utility. We'll say blueprint class. And this won't have a success condition on it either. I'm sure you probably figured that by now. This is going to be a random integer. Actually, let me make sure that there isn't a way to do this already in here. I think maybe in the, let's go ahead and try. We're going to move this up here. Nope, not yet. It'd be nice if stuff like that was already set up in there for us, but I don't even know where that. Oh, we never opened it. So this is going to be a random integer. Let me just make sure that is an integer it requires, huh? Yeah, it's an integer. And so interstate. We can say random integer and range. And that's basically it. Very simple. We do need to, I'm going to put this into the output category and make these instance editable. I'm going to compile this and set this to like 10. You can choose whatever number you want. And then I might set this to 2, for example, as a minimum, or you can set it to 1. It's up to you. So let's go ahead and I'm going to copy this one. I'm just going to put this under a general utility category. So let me start exiting out of some of this stuff. It's getting clustered in here. Okay. So under utility, random int. For now, I'm actually just going to set this to 5. And now I can bind that to the random int output. And that'll give us some kind of randomization there. On this one, it's going to be outro. And that one does not need to loop. Same role, same scene. So the only thing we need to change is the section name. And that should be good. All right. I never set my entry role name. That's going to cause problems. So let's go ahead and set that to entry 1 and just make sure that that's exactly what it's called here. And it is. Save compile, make sure there's no errors. And that's it. So I will see you guys in the next video where we will begin testing this and fixing whatever problems we come across, which I'm sure there will be plenty of. I will see you then.